Hi, I'm Janice Corsano,
And I'm Christine Alexander.
and this is How to Survive Art School. In this
When we
episode,
get down to it, like when we take all the other emotions, we only have two: fear and love. Those are our two. Most of us live in fear. I'd say 99.9999%. Very few people can just say they live in love, and that's kind of the point of what we're working on doing here, on the planet, is to actually live in a place that is. Maybe I think a little bit less negative, or maybe
But as it takes practice, it's like
it's
that.
practice.
It's an energy thing. Like if we like kind of go back to what we were saying at the beginning, like you're starting to put out that signal. It's a
Yes,
signal. Like
it's a
you really
signal.
are like
It's a
a
vibration.
person who you're almost like, what do they call the tower? Like a radio
Yeah.
tower. You're putting out a signal,
And
all
that
the time.
vibrates, and it vibrates at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So if it vibrates at a higher level, it's more of a positive.
Mm-hmm.
If it vibrates at a lower level, it's more of a negative.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people tending to vibrate at lower levels, and we're getting hit with lower levels because we have a lot of negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to try to stay more in the positive. So
Mhm.
us being able to, bring in and tap into the positive, it's all around us. We
Yeah.
don't tend to feel it that much these days, but
Right.
we can, and we can use it. So, being that wave, it's like if you pictured that, it's like, okay, what do I want to be part of?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a choice. If I'm going to put something out and it's going to affect everybody, what would I want to affect everybody with?
Mm.
And as angry as most people are now, it's like with negative shit.
Yeah. Well, and that's what
I want you to hurt because I hurt. Because hurt
Mm.
people hurt people.
hurt people, and that's where you get, and that really is a major part of it. It's like what you put, it's kind of like, it's almost like a karmic thing. Like what you put out, you tend to attract. So
yeah.
like, I remember in some of the work, or some of the things that I'd, learned through the years, like people saying like, if you want more, love, give more love. If you want more, whatever, abundance, like, give more abundant, like, have it be something that generates
Right.
that thing. But it's a little
If you
like,
want more negative, be more negative.
yeah, and that's
and you'll get more.
and people, but it's like people do that, and that almost feels like too simplified, like, because the problem I think is that, I can sit on my ass all day and say I'm being positive.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
being
there's an
positive.
action that needs
I'm
to
being
happen.
positive, and like, or I can be like, okay, like I am a loving person, I feel that. But if you feel, it's like that's the work. It's like if you're focused on being a loving person, but only 5% of the time,
Right.
and the rest of the time you're beating yourself up, or you're,
Right.
feeling
or you're
negative.
feeling like the victim, or you're feeling like people don't care, which is part of the victim. That all of that is part of the program that actually keeps you stuck buying into the same thing. So when we get down to it, like when we take all the other emotions, we only have two: fear and love.
Mm-hmm.
Those are our two. Most of us live in fear.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say 99.9999%. Very few people can just say they live in love. And that's kind of the point of what we're working on doing here, on the planet, is to actually live in a place that no longer has fear.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're not controlled by anyone. We wouldn't be afraid of anything.
Mm.
It's such a weird concept, like when you think about it. It's like to not be afraid of anything.
Mm-hmm.
That we would just be in love. Yeah, it's like, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's freaking scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that like came up for me when you said that, the idea to not be afraid of anything, it's like immediately I had all these things come up that were like, but what about this and all these things that like it makes a lot of sense to be afraid of, like pain or being hurt or death or like these big things.
And that's knowing, because those big things, it would be like knowing that you're a spirit being. So death, we don't die. And part of being love would be that we transcend. Our energy changes to different forms, but it's never gone. Now, is that difficult right now? Yeah, it's difficult that, because we don't know what happens exactly. I mean, all the experiences that we've had, tells us something, and each person has their own experience. And from my experience, it tells me that, there is a life that we go to after, and that we actually create this life from it, and that we put these things in, like we put them in, as far as growing and learning, and that there's something more. We don't end ever. And that was good news and bad news to me.
Yeah.
Although when I heard that from the angels, boy, these allergies need to go. When I heard that from the angels, I started laughing. I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. This never ends. Apparently I was thinking about on the planet, because I was like, oh my God, this sucks. And they reminded me, thank God, fast, because I was kind of laughing at it. I was like,
oh, right.
oh my God, this is going to be like this. Oh, what's wrong? No, I can't do this forever. You know, they're like, no, we're endless beings, which I knew, but I thought it was funny. I'm like, I don't want to do that. We end, right? This ends. Like, yeah, this actually ends.
Yeah,
you know? And then we get a perspective and a different view, and we're able to see it from a different place, which is why we come back. You know, I hear a lot of times people say, well, this is my last lifetime. We could choose it to be our last lifetime anytime we want. We don't have to come back. We actually like coming back because we have such big growth here. And in this lifetime, we are growing exponentially. Like, we have the opportunity like no other lifetime. Just showing your little ass up on this planet at this point, you got extra brownie points, you know, as growing and learning, just being here, just coming here. So a lot of people, that's why there's so much going on, because we kind of hit the all button. We wanted to heal a lot of things. So you see so much, you know, this isn't your vacation life. You know, we have vacation lives where things, you know, are pretty smooth and...
I'll sign up for one of those next time. Maybe
I think next time, this is our non-vacation life. So, you know, this is the overwork life. Put the all on the plate and then get another second helping. But there are, you know, people, and I don't think that they're on the planet at the moment with the vacation lives, but vacation lives are part of what we come down here to do. And, you know, that would be coming down here and learning way less, you know.
Yeah.
But, and there's other places that we can go do that too. We don't actually have to come here. Which seems weird too. It's like there's so many weird concepts of, you know, like all the things that are possible, because from our perspective here, they sound so bizarre. You know, like we have 5 senses and that's all we have. It's like, no, we have way more than that, and we know it, like we feel it, and a lot of times we deny it because we're taught, you know, that's where the not asking questions and not being okay with the fact that you have 6 senses, and you always have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I feel like people they'll like touch on these kind of other things, but they'll touch on them in a way that is like comfortable, like or more like of this plane. So like rather than, you know, talk about like your sixth sense or things like that, they'll talk about like, you know, your intuition and, you know, your brain's capabilities, or you know, rather than talk about like, you know, energy, they'll talk about, you know, oh, that person was like, you know, Debbie Downer. You know, they'll have like kind of these phrases.
Ways that they're talking about energy.
Yeah, but they're not really.
But they're not actually talking about energy.
They're not saying like, ooh, I could really feel like,
although
you know, they're in a lot of pain, or but there is more. But I see.
But we still, we still hear a lot of people say that, you know, or that person's being so negative, or you know, they're not saying energy, you know, but they're actually feeling their energy.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, it's their energy that they're feeling. Even if the person didn't say anything, they didn't have to even talk.
Or it's like talking to a friend recently, like they're having a conflict with another friend, and they're talking about, you know, kind of, you know, just the specifics of that conflict and the things that they're doing that they needed to not do and all this stuff. And I was really proud of myself because I could see that she was putting so much energy into that this person needed to do this one thing. Like it was almost like a spear point of, you have to do this in order for me to
okay.
feel. Yeah. And so I remembered what, you know, we've talked about in the past, and I was kind of was talking to her about it at that level. Like, they're not going to be able to do that if you keep putting the spear at them that they have to. You know, they're going to run the other way. It's like an energetic thing. And I was like happy to hear that she could get it. Like, she could see that, like, by forcing the issue, even if she wasn't saying it, but just by putting
but the other person knew.
Yeah, and they're going to run the other way. They're not going to be able to do it.
She's putting so much energy and so much force, and they have their own feeling about why they wouldn't be doing it. You know, that I always have to come to the table and do something for you. You know, their own feeling would be similar to what one friend is feeling, the other friend is feeling something similar to.
Mm-hmm.
And then be the one that always has to buckle in and give you what you need, but I don't get what I need. There's so many different ways that we do it, but when you do that with the energy, when you push so hard, it makes people run the other way.
Yeah, and it's like when you talk about it, people can get that.
Yeah,
they
it
can.
would be like if you saw somebody's energy and it was a big wall coming at you, you're going to basically try to get out of the way of that big wall. It's going to run you over. If you see someone coming at you and it's actually snuggly and warm and soft, then you tend not to run from that.
Yeah. Well, it's even like with that, like coming at the person.
Yeah, when you come at
with
somebody.
the wall.
Yeah.
Or like, let's say I had the wall.
And even if you come at somebody with snuggly, they still, like, you're coming, if you come at them at all.
Well, so yeah, depending on, what your energy, and that's the thing I was going to say is like, one of the examples of, just how messed up this whole thing was is like this person saying like, and I said hi to that, and I was really nice and all this stuff. And I was like, well, that's what you said, but
Right.
what your energy
You
was,
said.
what were you actually feeling when you said it? Because that's what they responded to, not
your
you're
words.
like, yeah. And
Yeah, because we could be very nice and say that, but if we have an energy that's saying, I'm unhappy, I'm scared of you, I'm worried about if you like me, any of those things, when you say hi, you get the energy.
Yeah.
So then they'll feel something, the other person feels something, like something's off with that. They're acting weird or something strange.
Right.
Something's going on. And they could tell. So it's kind of funny, like, we don't actually pay attention to the energy, like, awareness-wise, but we are doing it all the time. Like, we're reading it and using it to prove shit. We're not necessarily being aware that it's actually the proof of, and that there's something that the energy is trying to tell you that you could use to do something better with.
It's like, well, and that's like that. I mean, it's like the dynamic between your brain and what your brain's saying and what your energy and your body language, everything is saying.
Compared to what your mouth is saying.
It's like there's all these different aspects of it, and that's kind of what the work is too, is like getting in tune with what you actually feel. Because a lot of times people don't really even realize that.
Right. A lot of people don't realize. Like, a lot of people don't ever realize what they really feel. So they think that they are in tune. And what we'll actually do energy-wise, like when you feel somebody, the other person doesn't necessarily know they feel that way. So them starting to actually be like, wait, how do I really feel? And actually checking in with themselves is something that most people don't do. It's like we're more surface. It takes a bunch of times when you ask the question, like when we say, like, what does that really make me feel about myself? The first one only gives you a top layer. Okay, then when you get that answer, it's like, okay, what does that really make me feel about myself? Oh, then you keep going, you start to get the real layers underneath. And then you start to say, wow, I really feel like, that I don't matter. I really feel like there's something wrong with me. I really feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I really feel like I'm stupid. I really feel like you can't trust anyone. So that you start to see the themes, that show up in our life. But energy-wise, you're doing it all the time, and you don't know. And the fact that we don't know, like, what we really feel, and that we're afraid to ask questions to ourselves because it's going to be bad. Because when you get down to it, it's like, if we're not good enough, we're never going to be good enough when it's not true to begin with. It's like, we're not good enough for what?
Right.
Whatever it is we assigned it, whatever we labeled, we're not good enough for.
You're not getting it.
It's like you labeled, and, however we felt and we took things that we were taught, like, we're not good enough, and it could be, I'll never be successful at this, or I'll never get a person to love me and care about me and accept me the way that I am. I have to keep changing to try to be like they want me to be. And then, and I keep doing that, and they still don't love me. So if they really saw who I am, they certainly wouldn't. Because I keep trying to be what I think they want, and they won't. So all those things, show the same thing. But when we go back and we actually see from the 0 to, 7 stage, you learned it back there. It went in back there. And
0 to 7 years old.
Yeah, 0 to 7 years old. And that's the imprinting part. And when we imprint on that part, all we're doing is just, modeling and then proving. And then, it's not that we can't learn new things, but our main programs are always playing. And our job is to go out there and prove it to be true. Hence why we only see such a small amount of what's really happening. Like, we buy this as if it's real. It's not real. It's the illusion. And I watch people do it perfectly. Like, literally, like, that did not happen. And the other person can't see that it did not happen. But you could see that it did, like, that, what they said happened did not happen. that's the way they took it. That was the way they saw it. That's what and they will swear that that's what happened. That's how it felt to them. But that did not happen.
Yeah. Whereas
Because I'll have like 2 clients that are actually doing it, because they're friends or they know each other. Or,
they'll be like, so one person will have one experience, the other person will have a completely different, and they'll, be a conversation they had or something like that, something really routine on one side, and the other person, all their buttons got pushed. They're a wreck. They're pissed or whatever. And it's like, well, all you did, it's like the holding the door metaphor we used, was the last time or whatever. Like, all you did was you didn't hold the door.
Right.
One guy's like, what? I don't know what he's talking about. And,
and the other one's having a meltdown because
Yeah.
apparently you do this all the time. You don't care. This is
Whatever.
the last straw. This is,
Yeah, whatever. it
and
is.
watching it like not literally happen, like it didn't happen, or that we send out the energy to make something look like that actually didn't, because you're already feeling that way, so people don't care about me, so already feeling like people don't care, so whatever that person did, they picked up your energy and they said it in a way, and they didn't even realize they said it in that way.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
that they were saying it, and it proved it to you, and you're like, and now we're not even talking, and the other person doesn't even know why you're not talking. Like, they're acting strange. I'm not quite sure what's going on with them.
Yeah, I have an example of that. I actually had a friend of my roommate came over the other day, and like it was weird because as soon as the person came in the house, like I felt like I needed to go down and like, I don't know, like talk to them. It was really weird, like, but put them in. Like, it was weird, like, put them in their place, like, because they're being loud, and, all this weird stuff was going in my head, and I was like, I don't, that wouldn't
be your normal.
I wouldn't typically need to do that,
Or even feel like you need to do that.
No, or whatever. It was just a really strange thing, and, like, I kind of, like, sat with it, and was like, no, I'm not going down, I'm not going down. And I actually needed to go down, because I had my phone charger on the first floor. So I did go down, and, like, it was so weird. Like, immediately that person's, like, defenses were up. They were, like, kind of rude to me. And I was trying in my head to be very, like, it's good to see you, da-da-da, like, it's nice to meet you, like, all the things that you would do as, like, a polite person when someone comes to visit your house.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs, and I was, like, thinking about it, and I was like, whoa, like, I said a few things in a way that dug at that person, and I know that they did, and it was completely the way they took it. Like, like I had met them once before, I had forgotten, and so I was like, "Oh, I'm Chris," I'm Christine.
So you really
nice
hit their button. Like,
yeah. Oh, you don't even know who. Yeah, and it was so funny because I like just didn't recognize them, and I didn't mean anything by it, but like in hindsight, I was like, "Whoa!" Like. That was weird. Like, it was really weird because they created it, and I was like, I was trying to be nice. Like, I was like, I don't know where this comes from.
How'd that go wrong?
Yeah.
I was just trying to be nice. But feeling that, and that happens so often. I mean, we do that all day.
Yeah.
When you think about how often do we prove our stuff? Constantly. There isn't a time we're not.
Yeah.
So when you start to become more aware of how you're actually doing it and what you're doing, and that's why putting in something better helps you to change your perspective. Like just in talking about the CDs, and listening to the podcast, and understanding that we really do work different than we think we do, and that there's so much that we can start to see, and actually going in there and seeing like, wait, how do I work would be kind of more of a fun thing. This isn't supposed to be like a horrible job to look at yourself. This is supposed to be something that's fun and that we look forward to. It's like, oh, how do I work?
Oh, yeah.
Why do I keep seeing things that way?
Yeah.
Why does life look like this to me? Why does it seem so hard? Is there something else we can do here?
Yeah.
And there is.
And there's a lot of ways to see things, and that's a good one too. It's like, questioning your assumptions about things, and that's fun too. Like I like, if you're going to tell yourself a story about, you used to say this to me, if you're going to tell yourself a story, make it a fun story.
Make
like
it a great one.
Oh, like this person acted this way, like,
because they're going to ride down to buy you a car from Tennessee, so that's why they were acting like, they
were in a rush.
You.
Yeah, they're trying to get out of there.
Yeah. And whatever it is, and that's why I say, like, if someone tells a story, like, I'm like, guys, you might as well even, not waste your time telling stories now to yourself, because now you got to tell 2 other ones. So if you tell a story, because remember I tell you guys all the time, it's like if you tell yourself a negative story and make up that, because we're making it up, we don't know all these things, we just go, see, if someone does this, it means this. So then the story goes. So if you do that, then you have to make up 2 other ones. One is another one that's extreme, like the one you just made up, and then the other one's kind of in the middle of the road. So then you got to make one positive way extreme, like the one that you're making up, and then one kind of in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it sounds like a lot of work to me. If you're going to be making up stories, then don't bother. So either make up the other ones.
Yeah, either or just
don't make any stories up, or just stop
like,
with the story. Be like,
this
not
doesn't
sure what that. Right. Not sure what they mean by that. Maybe I should ask.
Yeah. Are
maybe,
you okay?
Right.
Like, what's going on with you?
Maybe we should learn how to communicate more instead of me just assuming that you did this and that means.
Yeah, and that
because
means,
of my experience.
Yeah.
My experience means that that means you don't care.
Yeah.
And the other person is going, well, from my experience, the way you're acting means you don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm only acting that way because of the way you just acted.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. So who? Yeah.
See,
so
it's all you, Christine. I can feel that energy coming over here.
Yeah. Oh dear.
keep that negative energy and that stuff over there, right?
Yeah. I'll do my best.
But it's funny though, because we'll go back and forth, like people go back and forth, and not realizing that what started it was one little tiny thing that was off, that really turned into a major thing, when it really never should have been, or didn't have to be. But it does now, because we're trying to prove yet again, and that's our cue to actually step back and go like, wow, this happens a lot. It's the same feeling. And I'm the common denominator as it's happening with more people, or it's showing up in more places, you know? So it's really important that we actually start to see where we are the common denominator, and that those things are there for a reason to show us. It's like, no, it's in us. You know, we'd like to blame everyone else, and we talked about, I think, a bunch of times, and I don't know how many times ago, you know, we are at a place now where we have to choose, are we the victim or the creator? And we have to make a choice. And if we want to be the victim, that's fine. You know, if we start to choose that we are the creator and that we are creating this, then that gives us a totally different thing to work with. As the victim, you know, you are the victim of this whole thing and the circumstance of whatever happens to you. You know, there's nothing, you have no control over it. You have to wait for everyone else. So if you want to feel better, someone has to do something. As the creator, you do something, you know, as you feel better about yourself. And understand that they're doing what they need to do for them to actually understand. And that it's really probably not what we thought it was to begin with. You know, it's amazing. We are quite amazing beings.
On next week's episode,
But the amazing part is that if 50% didn't belong to you, and we could actually take out 50%, could you handle your stuff easier? And everyone would say, yeah, I could actually handle my stuff. My stuff wouldn't look so big. It wouldn't look so bad. And I could actually look at it and deal with it and learn how to cope with it. And it would be much more easier for me to do something with it. And that's why the Energy Effects Workshop is so important, because we're going to help give you some tools to actually help you practice. And you guys are going to do a little practicing with each other about, okay, what are you feeling from each other, and then being able to block it, to feel where it's coming from. And we'll do
Hey everyone, a few announcements before we let you go. Janice has a class this Friday at noon on learnitlive.com called Creating Healthier Relationships. And it's going to go into sort of why we create the same sort of relationship experiences, those patterns that we see repeating very often, and kind of how to manage that energetically so that you can maybe have some new experiences with people and feel a little bit more fluid in the choices you have in relationship. Now, the second announcement is that the next couple of weeks are going to be excerpts from one of Janice's talks, again on energy. This one's called Energy Effects, and it's going to explain, why we're so impacted by each other's energy and how to protect yourself from, other people's anxiety and stress and negative thoughts, things like that. So it's really important for this day and age. I think you'll get a lot out of it, and I'm really excited to hear your thoughts. As always, if you have any comments or if you have a question that you want answered on the show, feel free to email us at mylana@gmail.com.